So the computing machine is accepting the input and it will be storing inside the machine, and once it got the input based on the instruction, it is processing the information, and after that the processed result will be outputting through the output device. So these are the things a computing device will be doing. So the input will be accepting, storing inside the system and processing it, and the result will be outputting. After that, what are the different units of functional units of a computer? So there, for the examination point of view, this diagram is expecting. So you should draw this diagram, what was written over here. So the first block is having input output unit. So it is input unit as well as output unit, and that based on what was the definition was telling, you give the input through this way and store the result in the or instruction in the memory unit. Your processor will be accepting that, and the result of that processing will be again storing in this memory, and the result will be taken from there and it will be outputting through the output device. So this is the input output unit complete structure. So this is the complete structure of the functional units of a computer. So input unit, output unit, memory unit, arithmetical logic unit and control unit is included in the processor. After that, we'll see what is each of this. So this diagram you should draw for the examination, and along with that you should elaborate each of this unit. So the what is the first one? First one is the input unit. So it is not about input devices. So the input unit is what it was telling. Input unit accept the information either from a human operator or from any electronic mechanical devices like a keyboard, mouse or any other input device. So the input unit is accepting the input from the input device and giving it into the memory unit. That is the input unit. Similarly, what should be the output unit? What is the work that output unit is doing? It is not related to output devices. That is one point. So output unit, we should take the input from the memory or take the result from the memory and it should display to the output device. So what may be the output device? And that may be either the monitor or the printer or whatever it is. So what is the work of output unit is doing? It is taking the resultant value of the processing from the memory and it will be outputting to any of the output device. What is the next unit you are having? The next unit is the middle one, that is the memory. So what is this memory unit will be doing? The memory unit will be having, when you are looking into the diagram itself, you can mention that, see that there are two things as included. One is instruction 1, instruction 2, instruction 3, like that instructions, as well as data has mentioned. So it means your memory unit can store instructions as well as data. Data example I already told you. If you are having an instruction, for example, adding two numbers, that two numbers will be your data, and add a comma b or add two numbers, whatever be the 5 comma 6. So whatever that numbers will be the data part of the instruction, and the complete details will be called as then, like add a comma b, that complete thing is called as the instruction. Okay. Next is so that is the memory unit. So memory unit will be storing the information. That information I told in two times. One is instruction and second one is the data part. Okay. Next is the arithmetical and logical unit. So what is the arithmetic and logical unit will do? It will do the processing part of the computer. So it will do either arithmetic operation like addition, subtraction and all, or it will do the logical operation like any of the comparison. Okay. So arithmetical and logical unit, what is as mentioned, performs the desired operations on the input information as determined by the instruction in the memory. So that data from the input device, it is already stored in the memory, and so it was taken from the memory and processing, or processing means doing the arithmetical or logical operation on that. And what is the final thing? That is your control unit. So control unit is for what purpose? It is actually monitoring the complete process. When the memory, from when the data will be or instruction will be fetched from the memory to the processor, and when the result should be writing back to the memory, when the input device should accept the input, read the input from the input device, and to store in the memory. So all those information and what type of data it is getting and whether it is writing to the memory or it is reading from the memory, all those things will be handled by a certain set of control signals by the control unit. Okay, and all those things I already mentioned. We will study all these things in detail in 111 module. So today for the examination, you will get this question. So for that purpose, you should uh, study this diagram along with that the explanation for that. Next, the details of the input device. So again, after drawing that diagram, you should write this also one by one, whatever I am mentioning now. So already I mentioned you what is the input unit is doing. What is the input unit is doing? Accept the input from the input device and store it in the memory. So that is the work the input device or input unit is doing. You see what is it is doing. So this input unit we can also call as an interface. So what is this interface is doing is, see, your keyboard or audio input or what all are the input you are giving from the input devices, that will be formatted in the specific data format. But the way how the data is stored inside the memory, it will be in the form of bits. So you should convert the data format of the keyboard to the format what the system knows, that is in the binary format. So that process will be doing by the input unit. So that is why it is called. You are also hear that different drivers of keyboard drivers. When you are having a new keyboard, you should install the keyboard driver or even mouse. When you are connecting a new mouse or new keyboard to the system, you can see that driver is installing in the system. What is this driver? That driver is actually the interface. That drivers will be doing what all are the functions. The major function is the input device is formatting the data in a specific format and the computer will be processing the same data in some other data format. So conversion of those two formats, that is a major work your drivers will be doing, or the drivers is also called as an interface circuit of the input device. So that is the interface thing. So there what all are the things? That is with the common sense you can write accept binary information from the input device, present this binary information in the format expected by the computer and transfers this information from the input device to either memory or processor. So these 3 points you should write with respect to the input unit. So what all are the things? Accept the binary input and store that input in either memory or processor and convert the data format of the input device to the machine understandable format or the format what your computer is expecting. Now you read the red lines in the PPT. So that itself will give, if you listen the class, that itself will help you to prepare for your exam. So it is input unit. It will be acting as interface. It is accepting something. What is accepting? Input from the input device. Presenting what? Presenting in the format of the memory and processor. And finally, the data will be transferred. Okay. So actually this diagram is coming little late, but for explaining the memory unit, I think this is required. So when we are discussing about processor, in the previous diagram, we were explained only about the control unit and ALU unit. That means all the data, whatever you are having, you were stored in the memory unit. But other than that, there are few other set of memory is already presenting inside the processor. These are some of that one. So mainly we will be calling it as registers. Maybe these words you may hear. What is this registers? How it is differ from the normal memory? The registers are residing inside the processor. So that when the ALU wants to process certain things, those registers data is easily available for your ALU. So if you want to process certain data, actually from the memory, you will take that data and it will keep inside the registers. Because the registers are present inside the processor, your ALU can from the take those data from the processor and you can process it. Okay. So that is the advantage of keeping registers inside the processor. So these registers are called as general purpose registers. This is called the general purpose registers. We will discuss about MAR, MDR, PCIR, all are different types of registers. We will discuss in detail in our next class. So only one thing I want to mention you that instead of normal memory system, we will be having a separate memory storage inside the processor also, and that memory we will be calling as registers. There are n number of registers are present inside the processor. Next, so only one unit we have discussed till now, that is our input unit. What is the next unit? Output unit at the end we'll discuss. Next unit is when you are reading an input from the input device, it should store inside the memory. So it should store inside the memory means I should tell about what is this memory unit. Memory unit itself, already we discussed that two types of data will be storing inside the memory. What are the two types of data we are storing inside the memory? Tell me, anyone? What are the two types of data we are storing inside the memory? Two types of information what we are storing inside the memory. Very good. Sanjana? Very, very good. Okay. So the data what we are storing inside the memory are instructions and data. So the information storing inside the memory are instructions and data. And also we told that the data inside the computer system will be storing in terms of bits. It will be storing in bits. So bits means either in terms of 0 or 1, the complete data, even the instruction is also storing and even data will also be storing. Next thing is, see, even though this is looking little extra things, you just, when you are referring the slide, again I am telling you just read the redlined one. That is enough. But when I am explaining, you should listen the complete thing. So what is this thing is telling is the processor reads the instruction and reads or writes data to or from to the memory during the execution of the program. So this is your memory you are having. So from that memory, change the color. From that memory, you should take the data to your ALU for processing. So from the memory, you should take the data and you should store it in the ALU. So when theoretically we were telling the data will be storing in terms of bits or zeros of 1. So that 1 or 0 will be directly transferring to the ALU. But usually it is not transferring as a single 1-bit data. Instead of that, a group of bits together will be taken from memory and giving into the processor or into the ALU unit. And that group of bits together is called as a word. You can see a word. So when a group of bits together is transferring from the memory to the ALU unit, and that group of group of bits is called as word. And the number of bits present inside a word is called as word length. For example, 4 bits together will be transferring from there to the processor, and that is called as word. So at a time, one word will be transferring from memory to processor, and the number of bits present inside the word is called as word length. So only that are the points. So the data will be storing in form of bits, and the number of bits transferring from the memory to ALU is called as word, and the number of bits present inside a word is called as word length. Okay. Next thing. I want to take certain data from the memory to ALU, and where is that data or instruction is present inside the memory? How can the processor know? In the memory unit where my required data is present in the memory unit, that processor should know. For that, what we are using is we are having an address associated with each of the word. So that if the processor knows that corresponding address, processor can take that data from the memory. So this you can just remember like a story. So there is not much things are required. You can take the data from the memory to ALU, and the data will be transferring in the terms of words, and the number of bits present inside a word is called word length. And where the data has residing inside the memory, that will be processing in terms, it will be accessing through the address. So processor should know the address of that. Okay. Next one. What are the different types of memory present inside the computer system? What are the different types of memory? Already you are familiar with the primary memory and the secondary memory. So the memory what is present inside the system is called primary memory. Primary memory itself is two types: random access memory, RAM and ROM. So RAM is random access memory, ROM is read-only memory. Random access memory means from the memory unit, where it will be having so many number of addresses or something. So from there, so this is the memory unit you are having. Every time you will be having lot of addresses, and in each address it was storing the data. Random access memory, at any point it is not sequentially accessing the address one by one. From any point randomly you can take the data. That is the random access memory. And ROM means it is just a read-only memory. So the data you can't edit or you can't update. You can just read the value what is present inside that particular one. So already, what is the secondary memory? Secondary memory is the extra memory you are adding to the system for extra storage. Already you are familiar. All of you are having hard disk and pen drive, all other things. So that are the extra memory you are using to the system. So that is called a secondary memory. And also you are knowing about RAM, which is RAM or ROM is a volatile memory. RAM is a volatile memory and ROM is a non-volatile memory. So what should be the content of ROM? Already I told that we can't edit that memory, and it is non-volatile means it will be existing there even if power is switched off. So what should be the content of the ROM? Mostly the operating system will be there. So even if you are switching on the system again, that data you should not lose from the system. So usually the operating system, and even we don't want to edit something on that. So that's why most of the time ROM will be having the operating system related things. Next one is related to memory only. So what is memory access time? What do you mean by that, memory access time? Who will be accessing your memory? The processor will be accessing your memory. When the processor is accessing the memory, how much time it is required for accessing a particular word from the memory to the processor, and that time is called as memory access time. Okay, so that is the definition was telling. Memory access time is called as access any word location in short of a fixed amount of time based on the address. So from the memory, if we know the processor knows the address, so based on that address, the processor is trying to access a particular instruction. During that time, how much time is required for accessing it? So that is called the memory access time. Next one is telling about how much time it is required for communicating. Already we have we saw that there is a separate memory unit, and there are few set of memory which is already present inside the processor itself. I told you what we are calling that type of memory. What is present inside the processor? Very good. Registers. We will call it as registers. Also, we can call it as cache memory. Cache memory we will study actually in detail. The most cache memory is also present inside your processor. So that cache memory or the registers, that is very near to your processor or ALU unit. So the access time will be less for that corresponding memory, but the access time for this separate memory unit will be high for the for accessing the content from the separate memory unit will be high compared to the registers or cache memory present inside the processor. That is the content of this slide. So you can see the communication time of cache is less compared to the separate memory block what you are having inside the system. So this is all about memory unit. So what all are the things we have discussed in the memory unit? We were discussed about what is there in the memory unit, how the data will be storing inside the memory unit, how it is transferring to the processor, and what way they are accessing the data. And after that, what are the different types of memory? And after that, we were discussed about what is memory access time and how it is related to different separate memory unit and how it is how fast the data transfer between the registers and processor. So this is what the thing we were discussed. So cache is also a part of the memory which is present inside the processor. So this is all about memory unit. Now we'll move on to the next unit. So that is arithmetic and logic unit. What this arithmetic and logic unit will do? Now the data has read from the input unit stored in the memory. That much what we did. Next is we should process the data what is there in the memory unit. So arithmetic and logic unit will be doing either arithmetical operation or logical operation. What is this arithmetical operation? Addition, subtraction, multiplication and all will be the arithmetical operation. What is the logical operation? A logical comparison, either it is greater or less, logical and or not. So you have studied it in. So that any of the logical operation or arithmetical operation will be performing and by the arithmetical and logical unit. And next thing is telling about where when the arithmetic and logic unit is present where inside the processor. So whether the data actually what is the use of the registers they were trying to tell. The data every time it is accessing from the memory unit to your processor will take a lot of time. So only they have designed a specific registers inside the processor so that your ALU can take the data immediately. So when it wants to process a specific instruction, actually that complete instruction will be taken from the memory unit and it will be storing inside the registers so that the processor can take the data immediately and it can process it. Okay. So that is the thing we'll be doing it. In order to execute an instruction, operands needs to be brought into ALU from the memory. So where will it store? So for storing that operands will be taken from the main memory to your ALU. So that data will be storing where? Inside the registers. Operands stored in general purpose registers available in ALU. So the two advantages is there. One is easy access and second is access time will be reducing. So access times of general purpose registers are faster than cache and main memory. So it is faster than, so even now three words of types of storage you heard. One is called main memory. Second one you heard about some cache. I told you that is also present inside the processor but away from the ALU. And also we have registers. So most easily accessible thing will be present inside the registers. So registers are much faster than other main memory and cache. Once the processing has done by the ALU, that result again back to store into the memory. If it is immediate, for example, 5 plus 7 plus 3 plus 2, so that is having lot of things to do. So the intermediate result is the processor is getting that intermediate result again it won't write to the main memory. Instead of that, that intermediate result will be storing again into the registers only because that addition intermediate result is again needed for further computation. So for that purpose, actually the registers will be storing that data. But once the complete calculation has got over, the result will be again writing back to the main memory. Why? Because the output unit is having only access to the main memory. Okay. So it will be writing the complete results. That is what written. The results of operations are stored back to the main memory or it is retained in the processor for immediate use. Immediate result of the processing will be storing in the registers and all other results will be storing back into the main memory once it completes the computation. So that's all about ALU unit. So things are It is doing for arithmetical and logical operation, and the result operands will be taken from the main memory and storing in the register, and the result of the calculation or computation will be storing inside the memory. And last one is our control unit. Already we have seen this. These are the operations of the thing. Accept the input, that is input unit will be doing. Storing it, memory unit will be doing. Processing it, ALU unit will be doing. And it provides output, that is actually output unit will be doing. And we didn't explain it. So what is this control unit will be doing? I already told you, control unit will be doing the coordination part actually. Operations of input unit, memory unit, ALU unit, and the output unit are coordinated by the control unit. So what do you mean by that coordination? When and what to do. That is the thing coordination means. So instruction controller, what operation should take place, whether it is storing the results to somewhere, whether it is processing something, or whether it is transferring from memory unit to processor or processor to memory unit, or what are the operation it should do. That is the first coordination thing as controlled by the control unit. Second thing is when it should perform. So what and when will be decided by the control unit. When it performs, control unit generate the timing signals. All these things will be doing through the certain set of signals that we will see in the fifth module. So that will be generated through a control signals, and then control unit will generate the timing signals and determine when a particular operation should take place. Okay. So finally we reached our output unit. What is the function of the output unit? Output unit is mentioning like not any output device, like input unit what I told. That is the same thing even output unit is doing. Either it is taking the input from the information in the memory unit, the processed result from the memory unit, and that is in the computer compatible format, in the number of bits format. That will be transferring to the output device into and converting the data from the computer compatible format to the output device compatible format. That was the work done by the output unit, or it is also called as output interface. So that is one, the interface of the thing. So it is accept the results of provided by the computer in the binary form, and what is doing? Convert the information in the binary form to the form understood by the output device, and it is transferring the data. So this is what the things your output unit is doing. So the only one thing we are discussed in today's class, this much only even I am teaching it. Okay. We'll discuss the next thing is about bus structure. So complete that first question's answer is completed. What are the different units? So the first block diagram, after that each of this unit and whatever the red line things I have mentioned in the slides is mandatorily should be there in your paper. I will share the slides as well as the recorded sessions video link in the Google Classroom. Last class things I have already posted in the Google Classroom. So bus structure. So what is the use of the bus? A bus will be taking people from one place to another. So even here also, we will be having a set of connecting wires that will be connecting different functional units. What are the different functional units that we already studied? Input unit, output unit, memory, processor or arithmetic logic unit, and control unit. So these units should be having a connection between them, and that connection should be happening through a bus structure. So normal bus we know that also will take passengers from one place to another. In the same way, when data will be transferring from one functional unit to another functional unit through a set of wires, and that wires structure is called as bus structure. So you can see there are many times to connect different parts inside the computer. Read only the red line, that itself will give you the clear idea. Connect parts inside the computer. Group of lines connecting path devices, a bus. So the different lines will be connecting, and it is making a bus. And next point is completely new. Instead of what all are the data things you can carry inside the bus, or what all are the things already I told, the data what is present inside the memory will be taken to the processor. So data part we should transfer. What other thing I told, when you want to access a specific data or instruction from the memory, the processor should know the address. The processor should tell the address to the memory unit. So the address is one component the processor should transfer to the memory unit. So the bus structure should also transfer an address. And also I told there is a control signal technique. Control unit will be performing that work, that is through a set of signals, and that signals should also transfer from one unit to another. So these are the things the bus will be carrying. We will be having, if you think like a vehicle, it will be carrying maybe goods or services or even people or what all other things. In the same way, whatever the bus we are having inside the computing system, it is having to transfer three different things. One is address, one is data, and one is control signal. Okay. So this is a single bus structure. So you can see the input device is connecting, and then this is the complete one single bus. This is a set of lines. So that will be input device is connecting to this. That result should store where? It should store in the memory. And once it has stored in the memory, from memory, the processor should take the data. And once this has happened, then the processor should write the calculated result in the memory, and then from the memory that output unit is taken the data and it is displaying to the user. So this is the complete thing. So in that, actually this common bus will be used by many times. But what is the drawback of the single bus structure? At a time only one transfer is possible, either from input device to the memory, or it may be from the memory to processor, because the bus is common for all the units. So at a time only one transfer is possible in the single bus structure. What are one more problem for this structure is, maybe the common bus is connected with the different devices. So few devices will be really slow and few will be really fast. For example, the processor is very fast compared to the input devices. So but still the processor should wait if the input device is connected to the bus. So what is the thing? How can we solve that issue? I think you understood what is the problem. We are having only one common bus and different units are connected to it. In this itself, processor and memory is faster compared to your input unit and output unit. But if the input is transferring a data to the memory, the bus is not available for processor for doing any other thing. So processor should simply waste its time for completing this first set of transfer from the input device to the memory. So we are wasting the time of our processing speed of the processor. So what is the extra thing we can do is, we can keep a buffer over here. From the input device to the bus, we can keep a buffer. So what is buffer means? It is a small storage area. So what is it can do is, it can read the input from the user and store it inside the buffer. So once the buffer is full, then immediately that all data can be transferred into the bus and it can directly transfer to the memory. Otherwise, reading the input from the user and putting it into the bus structure will be taking time. So that reading process should happen before, and the result will be storing inside a buffer. Okay, we'll see that slide. That is the issues. You can see I have written it. The devices connected to the bus vary widely in their speed. For example, some devices are relatively slow, like printer and keyboard, but some other devices are relatively fast, like optical disc, and memory and processor are fastest device of the computer. And we know that at a time only one transfer is happening through the device. So what is the thing we can do? So how can the speed of the bus will be depending on the slowest device which is connected to the bus. So how can you solve this problem? You can use a separate buffer. There you read the input and store it in the buffer. Once the buffer is full, complete data you can transfer through the bus. Okay, this is all about our today's session. So two things we have studied. We have studied two things. One is, what are the different functional units of a computer. After that, we were discussed about what do you mean by a bus structure, a single bus structure. This diagram is also important. This diagram is also important. What is a single bus structure? After that, what are the drawbacks of this single bus structure? How can you solve it? So that is the things for today's session. Okay. And what we will discuss in tomorrow's session is, till now we were discussed about what are the different functional units of a computer, how it is interconnected, a little bit idea you got it. Tomorrow what we are trying to do is, you have an instruction in the memory and you are trying to execute that complete instruction in the processor. So what are the steps involved in it? That is what we will be discussing in our next session. Okay. So this is all about today's session. Now